Hey everybody, Robert Phillips, a rock and roll speaker, also known as the Funnelman. How you doing today? All right, good. I'm glad you're here. I want to welcome you back to Step Into Your Future. And I do want to say, if you've listened to some of my other podcasts, and if you're getting value, please do me a favor and share and like and comment and follow me on iTunes, okay? Today, we're going to talk about money. Does that sound like a pretty good topic? Money. I'm going to get some of my material from T. Harv Eker. If you haven't heard of him, he's got a host of fantastic books to read that'll help you get further along in your online marketing experience. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. We live, and everything pretty much has to do with money. If you don't really believe that, try living without it. I'm sure some of you have tried that, tried living without it, when you lose your job or whatever. I know I've been there, and it's not a good place to be. So money matters, right? Money matters. So let's take a look at this. Our world isn't all uh, beautiful and awesome all the time, is it? We have struggles, we have difficulties, we have tragedies, we have things that we have to go through, and we need to come out on the other side a better person, right? And money, you have got to have money. I don't care what people say. You have got to have money to survive in this world. And I'm living proof of that. I used to live under a picnic table. Let me say that again for those of you who are listening and never knew that. I used to live under a picnic table. And guess what? I had no money. So money matters no matter what you think. Money matters. You've got different kinds of money. You've got different laws for money. You have inner laws and you have outer laws. Things like business knowledge and money management and investment strategies. All of these are essential. However, the inner game is just important, right? So let's take a look at a carpenter and his tools. Having top of the line tools is imperative, but being the top notch carpenter who masterfully uses those tools is even more critical. Wouldn't you agree? And it's not enough just to be in the right place at the right time. When you arrive at the right place at the right time, you've got to have the right skills and the right attitude and the right tools to perform the job that's necessary, and it's got to be done in a professional manner, right? So, who are you? How do you think? What are your beliefs? What are your habits? What are your traits? How do you really feel about yourself? How confident are you? Okay. All of these things matter. I have ran into so many people that honestly don't, they brush off the idea that, oh, we don't need money, we can survive. That is a load. Let me tell you, that is a load of something. Uh, so, do you deserve wealth? Do you? In spite of any thing that you've ever thought before, you deserve wealth. I believe everybody deserves wealth. Okay? The fact is that the way you think, the way you believe is really super critical, and it determines the level of your success. If you don't have confidence in yourself, how far do you think you're going to get? You're not going to get too far for sure. So, have you heard of people who, they just anything they touch turns to gold? I know you've heard this. Um, and when people look at it from the outside, all they think is, wow, they're born with the silver spoon in their mouth. But if you look on the inside, it's a totally different matter, isn't it? And that's how come You need to experience it. I've been in online marketing for over 20 years, and it took me 10 years to really get some sort of foothold in this industry. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take you that long. Some people, the first time they get involved in online marketing, within 2 months, they are already financially secure. Me, it took a little longer, but I tell you what, I've learned a ton of different things. I can do so many different things now, and it's because of all the courses I've purchased, all the trainings I've been to, all the conferences I've been to, all the seminars I've been to, all the books that I've read, all the audios that I've listened to. It just goes on and on and on. Okay. So you can do it, but you may have a few struggles. However, have you heard that saying, some people fail their way to success? Well, you're never going to get there if you don't try. And failing your way to success is just as good as getting there without any failure. Do you believe that? That was an incorrect statement, because I believe people are better off if they fail prior to success. So go ahead and fail your way to success. Einstein, he didn't perfect everything that he did the first time. He did it over and over and over and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different times, tried different solutions, tried this, tried that. And then finally, he never gave up. And I'll tell you what, the guy has really changed our lives the way we live in it today. So, the vast majority of people, they just don't have the internal capacity, to hang on to large amounts of money. An example of that is some of these people who win the lottery. They win the lottery, they win millions and millions of dollars. And within 6 months to a year, they're dead broke. They just spend and spend and spend and never look at the consequences of their spending. And, research has shown again and again that regardless of the size of the winnings, most lottery winners eventually return to their original financial state. Man, that's a trip, isn't it? No matter how big the wad of money they receive, research has shown that most of them eventually return to their original financial state. Now, on the other hand, the opposite occurs for self-made millionaires. Notice that when self-made millionaires lose their money, they usually have it back within a relatively short time. And Donald Trump is an example of this, right? Trump is worth billions. They lost everything, and then a couple of years later, got it all back again, and then more. So why does this phenomenon occur? Because even though some self-made millionaires may lose their money, they never lose the most important ingredient to their success. And guess what that is? That's the mindset of a millionaire. And in Donald Trump's case, has a billionaire mind instead of a millionaire mind. And did you realize that Donald Trump could never be just a millionaire? Because he's got a billionaire mindset. Does that make sense? So mindset has a lot to do with it. Your financial thermostat. Financial thermostat. Where is it set? Is it set on 50,000? Or is it set on 75,000? Or is it set on 500,000? Or is it set on 500 million? Where is your financial thermostat set? Most people, their thermostat is set on thousands and not millions. Let's pause here just for a second. I hope everybody's getting something out of this. My podcasts are, I try to be very simple and concise with my podcast, and I hope you're getting something out of this. Today, we're talking about money, okay? And our very last conversation, we were talking about, where is your thermostat set? Is your thermostat set on thousands, or is your thermostat set on millions or billions, as in the case of Donald Trump? So, if you're getting some sort of value out of my podcast, do me a favor, like, share, follow me, download all of my podcasts. And just to let you know, Step Into Your Future, which is the name of my podcast, it's all about teaching people how to get involved in online marketing and online marketing strategies and different techniques that you can do, because your future depends on you learning online marketing. If you have a current 9 to 5 right now, however, you want to make some additional income, some supplemental income, it would behoove you to learn online marketing. You can continue with your 9 to 5, and on the side, you can make an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. How much would $500 to $1,000 a month change your life? It would probably change it quite a bit, wouldn't it? And you can do that all in your spare time after you get off work. Put in a couple hours a day or a couple hours a week, however you want to do it, and you'll eventually get there. So let's get back to, the money matter here. Where is your thermostat? The reality of most people is, they really don't use their full potential. And I know you've probably heard this 1,000 times, probably more. People don't use their full potential, and if you do some research, you'll find out that 80% of individuals will never be financially free. Why? Well, you know, their their mindset is just not there. And 80% of those people, they'll never be truly happy because they're not reaching their full potential. You have potential. You've got to use it. You've got to take action. If you don't take action, who's going to take action for you? If you don't pay your light bill, who's going to pay your light bill? I tell you what, if I don't pay my light bill, I'm in trouble. So think about that. Start using your full potential. You're meant to be something. You're not just in this world for nothing. You are meant to be something. So please, please start working on your full potential. And let's use this for a second, okay? Imagine a tree. And let's suppose this tree represents the tree of life. On this tree, there are fruits. In life, our fruits are called our results, right? So we look at the fruits, which is our results, and we don't like them. There aren't enough of them. They're too small, or they don't taste good. So what do we tend to do? Most of us, we put even more attention and focus on the fruits, which are our results. But what is it that actually creates those particular fruits? Is it the seeds, the roots that create those fruits? No. It's what's under the ground that creates what's above the ground, right? Let me say that again. It's what's under the ground that creates what's above the ground. It's what's invisible that creates what's visible. I know you've heard of that saying, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And if you've seen that image, I'm sure you have, where there's a huge iceberg in the water and you see the tip of the iceberg and it's rather large, right? But then they show you underneath the water and it's 20 times bigger than the tip of the iceberg, which is sticking out of the top of the water. So It means that if you want to change the fruits, in other words, if you want to change your results, you have to first change your roots. And if you want to change the visible, you must first change the invisible. And we're talking about money here, and we're talking about, changing your life, trying to get results. We're talking about money, what it takes, your mindset, what's your thermostat set on. All of these things matter. Do you have a mindset of a millionaire, or do you have a mindset of someone who makes $30,000 annually? What is your mindset? And we're going to end it right there. I want to thank everybody for checking out this podcast about money. And my name is Robert Phillips, the rock and roll speaker, also known as the Funnelman. Do me a favor if you're getting some value out of this. And by the way, I want to reach thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. Can you help me? Please share this. Comment, like, and follow me. Download all my podcasts. Because what we're going to do is we're going to continually learn about online marketing and the things and the mindsets and the tools and the skills and the techniques that you need to be successful in the online game. And I guarantee if you want a little additional income, some supplemental income, online marketing is the way to do it. You don't have to quit your 9 to 5. All right, Robert Phillips, we will talk to you on the next podcast. Have a wonderful day.